Okay, so here we are then. As part of our 10 things to learn about DIY, we're going to be showing you today a real simple DIY skill, how to put up a shelf onto a plasterboard stud wall. You could look at this job as being a real difficult one to tackle, but with our help, you'll be able to get this done, no problem. Tools you're going to need, they're on here. There you go. Possibly a drill, screwdriver, wall plugs, screws for the right size. I'll tell you about those as we go through it, and also some small screws to fit through the brackets. You'll definitely need some brackets, and possibly a stud detector. A lot of tools, but let's simplify it. The first thing to do is find out where you want to put your shelf. Have a rough idea, or a definite idea of how high you want to have the shelf. You don't be marking your wall all over, so I always recommend getting a little bit of masking tape, placing it on your wall, working out the height you want, and just marking it there. Second thing to do is you're going to need a level line. Not everybody has got a handful of levels, or any professional that comes in to do this kind of a job is just going to fire up a laser and make us start putting the brackets on. Not everybody has access to it. You may only have one level, a ridiculously long level. It's not going to work if you're in an alcove, or if you've got walls in the way, or a level that's too short is not going to work either. A real simple way is to find a piece of cardboard with a square edge. Bigger the better, as long as it fits inside your alcove. Then you find the center point of this bottom line. You can do that with a tape or with a measuring stick. And you can find that halfway, and you just draw a line down the middle of there. And the next thing to do is you'll need a screw to place in there, or a nail, just lightly, and a plumb bob. Piece of string with a weight on the bottom. Tie a knot in the end, it'll go round the string, and then you offer that up to your wall at the height that you want your shelf to be at. And then it's just a simple matter of rotating this triangle you've got until the string in the middle falls directly over that central line. And when you've done that, you've got a plumb line. So again, so as not to mark our wall, here we've got a freshly painted wall. We're going to use masking tape again and simply put our mark on that masking tape. And there you go, homemade level. And what we can do, just to see if it's worked, is we can test it just in this situation, just to make sure. And we're reading near as damn it plumb. So yeah, that's a real simple way, if you don't have a level, of getting that nice level line. Now what I'm going to do, more tape, is I'm going to put a line across the wall, and then simply draw a line in between those 2 points. And because we've got a nice straight edge on the shelf that we want to fit, this is a Conti board shelf, we're just going to do it with this. And now I'm going to mark in from the outside whereabouts I'd like my shelves to fit. And I think I'm going to set them in about 150 mil, maybe 200 mil, let's see. Our shelf is about 800 mil long. Yeah, let's go in 150 mil. You don't want them too close together or too far apart, but it all depends on what you're going to be putting on your shelf. And if you want more tape, now this is a London style angle bracket, and this is perfect for the shelf we've got. If you look at the London style bracket, it's got a long leg and a short leg. The long leg is going to go down the wall, and the short one supports the shelf. So we've decided the height of our shelf, where the shelves are going inwards, and now it's just a case, oh, I'll move that down just so that masking tape is in line with that bottom hole. Now it's just a case of eyeing these in. What we can do as well is make sure that we're going down there square by using the square bracket itself. Well, that's better. So now I've got the point where we want to put our first hole. And then we could use the same method again that we've used, or we could measure down with a tape just to make sure we get the same distance across there. Or again, with a measuring stick. Or we could just use our trusty plumb bob. That little weight's always going to drop down, keep this string nice and plumb up and down. And then when we've got this nice and plumb as well, still on this mark and lined up with where we want the bracket, I can mark these two holes. Nice sharp pencil or a pen, whatever you've got to hand. And that's it. Now we've got our 3 marks for our 3 fixing points, and I'll do the same on this side. Now the next bit is the bit that you might be slightly anxious about doing, which is putting holes in your freshly plastered and painted wall. How do you know it's safe to do it? Well, there are a few ways of knowing what's behind there and finding out what's behind there. But what we're going to assume in this case is that there's no electricity, no electric points or outlets directly below any of these points. There's no plumbing or radiators nearby, so there can be no pipes behind there for you to accidentally hit. You could use one of these stud detectors to have a look, see what's behind there, see if there's any metal behind there. Also at this point, you may not know what kind of construction of a wall you've got. Now we're assuming that you've got a plasterboard wall on studs. You may have different. You can tell by a plasterboard wall because of the sound that it makes. You can tell if it's got studs by using your stud detector, but often the plasterboard may be dot and dabbed onto a solid wall. There are ways of finding out what kind of construction you've got, but you can take off an electrical socket or a switch, an outlet, and have a look and see what kind of wall is behind there. If you see some breeze block or brick, you know you've got a solid wall behind there with plasterboard dot and dabbed. So in that case, you're going to have to drill with an SDS drill or a masonry drill bit deeper into the solid wall and put your fixing deeper and use longer screws. But in this case, we've got a plasterboard wall. We're going to use plasterboard plugs. And I'm going to use a punch, a plasterboard punch. You could use a drill. For these brown plugs which we're going to use, it states on the packet, you need a 7mm bit, which is in here. So you can set your drill bit, if you're using one, directly where you need it. Start your drill, nice and square to the wall, and very slowly. Like that, and you can repeat that process. Or what I'm going to use is this stepped punch. And these sizes on here are set for the different colour of plugs. The middle bit is for red plugs, and then the last bit is for brown plugs. And the reason why I prefer to use this is there's less dust. You put that in there, a few gentle taps. And now you're ready for removing this tape. And you're not left with any pencil marks or dirty marks on your freshly painted walls. Now you simply take the plugs, offer them up to the hole, and tap them in. So now all we've got to do is offer up our London brackets and screw them into place. What I'm choosing to use here is a number 7 screw, and it's 1 inch long, or 3.9 by 25. And I just can't get enough of this long screwdriver, so I'm going to use it. I'm not going to tighten that all the way. Not yet. And then I'm going to put the next screw in. And then it's just a case of getting these all in there. Just hand tight is enough. You don't want to over tighten these. You don't want the plasterboard plug to be spinning in the wall there. And that's that in. And what I've done there as well is I've started by putting the top screw in first, not the bottom screw. If you put the bottom screw in first, this whole bracket could spin around and mark your wall, so it's best practice just to start at the top there. There you go. So now we've done the tricky bit, the easy bit really, and we've got the brackets on the wall, and now it's just simply a case of offering up your shelf, centering it on those brackets, and then what we'll do is we'll mark it, now it's in place, and these other 3 fixing points so that the shelf can't fall away. So to get this centered, I'm just going to simply measure from the edge of the board to the middle of the bracket on both sides. So I just know I've got to move it across just 10 or so mil, another couple of mil. That's the top, that's the front. I've just marked that on a bit of tape so I remember. But I'm going to mark these now underneath. Place them on a flat surface. And this is a case now where you get small screws. You could use a small drill. These are 10 mil, and I think these are size 6. You want to make sure that they're not going to pass through your board and that they fit in there. Or you could use a punch, and I'm going to use this same punch for this, just so it's going to start the screw off. Or you could use a drill. Again, the drill makes more mess. Finish that off with a punch. And now while we're on the table, I'm going to take the screwdriver and just push these screws in. And that'll make it a lot easier when I offer the shelf back up to the brackets. It'll make it a lot easier to get those screws in. And I'll just do that with all of these. There we have it. Ready to fix these into place. And there we have it, a shelf fixed using our homemade level. Cheap and easy to do. We're going to check its level now, just to make sure. Well, that's bang on. And there we have it. nice, easy DIY job that you can have a go at yourself. So there we have it, a very simple DIY job using very limited tools. We hope you have a go at doing this yourselves. If you do, please let us know in the comments below. Please check out our other videos in this series, 10 things to know about DIY. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.